morning, everyone. We are coming to you live via Facebook streaming, YouTube streaming, and via Skype. Each one of you is welcome to this live streaming from our studios in Trinidad. Yesterday, the session did not happen as the night before, almost 14 hours, I had to spend in the hospital for some reasons. This is question answer session. The first question is an outside impression. It is inquired that you have asked to be in the act of love totally, feel the bliss and remain in it. When body starts shaking, become this shaking. Is it not indulgence? You have asked to be in love, act totally, feel the bliss, and when body starts shaking, become this shaking. Is it not indulgence? Tantra is not indulgence, it is a totally different approach. You will not be able to know unless you experience it. You eat food. Do you taste the food? Does your mouth is capable of analyzing the ingredients needed to make that particular dish, the process and different tastes you are getting in it? If you are not, then it is indulgence. When you know the food goes in your mouth, the mouth becomes a lab. Just as when you take a particular substance in a test tube in a chemistry lab, you start analyzing it. You heat, you add some other ingredients, its color changes, its smell changes, fumes comes out. You know, this is the process of analysis. Tantra is basically a process of analysis, a deep understanding. Once a Zen master was asked, what is the ultimate in renunciation? He was carrying a bag with some things in it on his shoulder. He dropped the bag and walked away. The person did not understand why he dropped the bag and went away. Then he came back and picked up the bag and laughingly walked away. When there is a loss of a particular thing to you, you are thinking all the time about it. At that moment, there is no awakening. Someone very near and dear dies, you are shaken. You cannot recover that loss. This is indulgence, not understanding. We are not aliens though. We are bound to each other by a causeless force. We are fellow travelers traveling along the life's roads. We meet sometimes. For instance, our sessions started, you started joining these a couple years back. Before that you had life. Now that there is life. And when it is not, life will still continue. Tantra is a very deep approach. It says that be in the world, but not let the world be in you. Be in the world, but not let the world be in you. You are not in the world, but the world is in you. A man of understanding is in the world, but the world is not in him. It happened once. One of the daughter of Lalaji passed away as a child. He went, cremated the child, and came back and had the session. So same time there were two sannyasis. One was the older who was the guru, and the other was the younger one. They were also in the session. So the question raised came in the mind of the younger one, what kind of renunciate a Sufi he is. He was lamenting for the death of his daughter. Lalaji did not ask anyone, and this person did not ask the question. So it happened, Lalaji had a piece of paper. He took the piece of paper in his hand and started tearing it into pieces. With that, a very mild, a subtle, a soft sound comes in. As soon as you tear a paper, there comes out a sound. Lalaji drew the attention of this younger sannyasi towards the sound, and he said, this piece of paper does not have life as we know, as you know. But when the part is being separated from the total, there is a sound. This sound is the sound of lament, or sound of separation from the whole. When this happens with an inanimate object, what about all of us? We are living. I have lived with that. And lived with that person. There was another example in the life of Hazrat Ubaidullah Ahrar, a Naqshbandi Sheikh. He was the ruler of the state of Ahrar. His father had a kingdom, but he has no interest, so he was sent to his master Hazrat Khwaja Muhammad Zahid, and the father made him a promise that whenever he will need, Ubaid will have to come back to the kingdom to take care, because he was the only son. While he was in the company of his Sheikh Hazrat Zahid, one day a messenger came that his father has passed away, and left a message for him that he has to come and take care of the kingdom. Ubaid told Hazrat Zahid that he is not interested in the kingdom. Hazrat Zahid said, Ubaid, this is the time that you have to be the king. This state when you are into it, but you are not lost into it. You are totally aware totally conscious of what you're doing, that state is known as, in Sufi terminology, belos. You are into it, but you are not into it. You are not lost into it. So Ubad used to take care of the kingdom. It has a particular way. He has to attend to all the works of the kingdom. As a king, he has to dress in a particular way. He cannot sit down on the ground or anything. A certain kind of a throne or the chair he would have to use. Certain things, whatever is necessary as the paraphernalia of being as the head of the state. So during that time, as if like this is like this, you are going to the work, you have a particular attire, that is the way you need to dress. When you return home, you take off that attire and you relax into your homely clothes. You are a professor, you are a senior officer, you have to go in a three-piece suit with a necktie, all these things, but at home, in your prayer or any other occasion, you are not dressed that way. So Ubad will spend whatever time was needed for the kingdom. After that, he will retire into his solitary retreat, where that was that of a hermit, of a renunciate or a Sufi, with meager facilities. So it happened after Ubad left Zahid, there were other disciples, and one day the disciples asked Hazrat Zahid, is there anyone in this world who is a belos, not lost into? So Hazrat Zahid told them that whenever you are in Ehrar, go and visit Ubad. He is a king, but he is belos. So it happened that Ubad was in the kingdom, running the kingdom. So these two fellow disciples came to meet Ubad. But the passage through which they have to go was the place where the horses were tied. Maybe it was purposefully. Their horses are tied and other animals are tied. So the pegs to tie the horses were made of gold and silver, because he was a king. His palace has to be of that nature. He must be using the big cars. He must be using all the other security that is needed for the king. His dining hall has to be of a different nature. So a thought came to their minds. How can he be detached when even the ordinary pegs to tie up the horses are made of gold and silver? These could be of iron or wood. So they met Ubad. The session of the meditation Tawajjuh began, but Ubad realized that there was a thought in their mind that was coming again like a thorn in the Tawajjuh, and the energy was not flowing. So through his intuition, Kashf, Ubad saw what was the matter, and he told his two fellow disciples, Look at the heart of this humble servant. Do you see the impression of the gold and silver pegs that you saw in the place as you were coming or not? They realize. This is the meaning of being detached. You are into it because you are given the opportunity. That is why it is said the king has to be a renunciate. If it is not, he will be using the resources for his own benefit and for the benefit of the people around him and his family. This is what happens with most of the politicians. But if a politician or the king or the person at the helm of affairs is a renunciate, I heard there was the second Prime Minister of India, a very short person. He was a very simple person. He became the Prime Minister by virtue of his credentials. He used to wear a dhoti, the long Indian cloth of maybe 4 meters and a top over it. His dhoti got a tear. He took the needle and thread to stitch it, to mend it. He had only a pair of dhoti and a pair of tops as a chief minister, as a prime minister. But he is traveling in the state-owned vehicle that is meant for the prime minister, and his wife used to do the cooking. He could have had a big repertoire of chefs, as happens if you ever get an opportunity. Watch the kitchen of Queen of England Elizabeth. How many chefs are there working? What kind of kitchen is this? What kind of dining table, dining room is this? So you can be into it, but the world is not into you. This is the approach of Tantra, which you cannot see from outside. When you say that, you ask the question that you said to be in the act of love totally, feel the bliss and remain in it. And when the body starts shaking, become the shaking. Is it not indulgence? This understanding is perversion. This is the unreal personality. There are two things. That is a split into you, a schizophrenic state. This is the unreal personality in you that is speaking. And it is always the unreal which is against any sort of enjoyment. Will keep on telling you, why are you enjoying the food? You are a renunciate, you are a sheikh, you are a master. It is always against you. It is against enjoyment. It is always for sacrificing things. For you are sacrificing yourself for others. It looks beautiful, but you have been brought up in it. Sacrifice yourself for others. This is altruism. If you are trying to enjoy yourself, it is considered as selfishness. And the moment someone says this is selfish, it becomes a sin. But let me remind you that Tantra is basically a different approach. It says unless you can enjoy yourself, you cannot help anyone to enjoy. You have made a food, you have invited people. The people who you have invited, they are at the different stages of their inward journey. Some may be totally worldly, or the business people. As a person, I am speaking to you now from a different platform, but there are other roles that I have to perform in life. I am a driver on the road. When you are driving and someone else gives you a bad drive, immediately you lose your temper. With windows up, people start cursing, saying the words, which is normal. I have customers who are coming, they are not interested in this part of my life. They are coming as a customer, but they are interested in learning certain things. So I put all my cookbooks on the group that belongs to the groceries. The name of the grocery is Khushbu. Khushbu means fragrance. So it is available for free for download. So when you are following the recipe that is given in the book, you are at least in my thoughts that this book is written by this person and he has given it to us free for download. What kind of person is this? He could have sold it to us. It creates an impression in the mind of the person. And when he is going through the words, those are words put together like a garland with flowers, the words being used as flowers. And so each is soaked into the awareness. You may not be familiar with that fragrance, but you can never remain unaffected. You may not be interested in these talks, but you will certainly be interested in the food that I cook or the recipe that I give. This is the approach that I have taken. Recently we have started a tea dispensing unit. I could easily sell the tea to the customers, but I said no. This is to be given complimentary to the customers who visit. So I asked them, would you care to have a cup of tea which have different flavors, ginger, spicy, cardamom flavor? You can get a cup of tea. What is the cost? No, this is complimentary from us. In business, there is cost and benefit analysis. Unless you understand that, this applies to everything. Why should a person come to you? What you have to offer him. In addition to that, he comes and buys an item, he pays for it. And unless he finds the benefit is more than the cost that he pays, he will not opt for that object, opt for that product. The benefit to the customer has to be more than the cost that he pays. Then it is beneficial. So in that, when he comes in, he spends the money, buys the things which he cannot get elsewhere, and he gets the value. This is what the term we use, value for money. This is based on cost and benefit analysis. Buys it. I realized that the person was interested in East Indian dishes, asked me certain questions. There is a particular kind of a dish that is made in the city of Hyderabad. It is known as chicken 65. Is a particular way of making. It can be made as a side dish, or basically it is used as a side dish, and people use it as a main dish as well. So person asked, what is needed to make this particular dish? So I told him the history of that this particular dish was started by a Muslim chef in the city of Hyderabad. He was running an army canteen, and in the army canteen there was a long list of the different items available. So the list was long, items were listed in numbers. So this particular item was in that list as number 65. So people had less time, there used to be crowd. They will not be ready to call that long name of the dish. So they identify dish with 65. Because it was a chicken, so chicken 65. Because there were other dishes of chicken as well, so chicken 65. I said this is a recipe, that a way of cooking chicken, but the same you can transform into other things. You can make cauliflower 65, you can make paneer 65, tofu 65, you can make potato 65. So you can transform that recipe into an item of your own choice. So then the person found that it was an interesting conversation. So then I asked, do you have cookbooks? And I mentioned it to him that you can download all my cookbooks from our Facebook group, Khushbu Indo-Pak Grocery Group, and the books are in the folder called Files. So what the person realized, that interaction with me, I am basically not a businessman. My approach to life is transformation of human consciousness, a spiritual approach. But whatever role I am doing, how can I transform this approach into the person who is not showing any interest outwardly about his spiritual life? What do I do then? During the time you are interacting with a master, he may be talking on an ordinary subject. He may be talking to you useless and nonsensical things, but behind everything, his consciousness energy field flows. This is the approach of Tantra. This is the Sufi approach, which need to be understood. Only then you can understand the deeper intricacies of this, of It is said about a particular Sufi, he used to frequently visit the brothels. Does these people, they are in that area or in that field for certain reasons, certain circumstances? Do they not need to be transformed? And would you allow a prisoner to come to your place? Would you allow a prostitute to come to your commune? And if you allow that, the others may leave knowing that this man is dealing in prostitutes. There was a particular Zen master, frequently he used to visit, do something trivial, and he would be thrown into the prison. He will stay there for some months and then come out, and again people ask him, why do you engage in all these kind of activities that you have to be put into jail? We can provide you all that you need. He laughed, and his reply you cannot understand unless you understand a deeper approach. Who will walk on the people who are living in the prison? So he goes there, interacts with the people for a certain period of time, come out as if in the same way as at times I visit different places, interact with the people who come during that period when I am there in that particular city. This is the reason that 3 days for the week I have created this opportunity for live streaming, so you can listen to me live. And if these talks interest you, you can join. If not, nothing can be forced on you. So Tantra is a totally different kind of approach. It says unless you can enjoy yourself, you cannot help anyone else to enjoy. Unless you are really contented with yourself, you cannot serve others. You cannot help others towards their contentment unless you are overflowing with your own bliss. You are a danger to society, because a person who sacrifices always becomes a sadist. So you have to understand it first. When a chef makes a particular dish, he puts in all his experience. His interest is creating a dish which has a taste, aroma, color, look. You can present a particular song with a taste and aroma of your own. It will have an approach, it will have an appeal to the people who are listening. During this talk, many things were woven into a particular way to present it as a dish on a platter for your consumption. If I use the word, the chef's word, it is a dish which is prepared with different, the stock is a dish which is prepared with different ingredients for your consumption. The talks must be interesting. Use of the ingredients, how many different ingredients have been used to make a particular dish. That Tantra is not indulgence. Tantra is a totally different approach. When it is said that be totally into the act of love, be into it totally, enjoy and feel the bliss, and when the body starts shaking, become the shaking. This is the occasion. This is the function. This is the occasion when a chef prepares a dish using different ingredients for your consumption. It must look good. It must taste good. It must appeal to your palate. And when it appeals to your palate, it gives you satiation. Everything subtly infuses into it, and you will never forget. Why Tantra is not indulgence, it is a totally different approach. Only this much for this morning. Until we meet again, take care and do have a pleasant day.